my last installment of a real 12-hour TTL clock is doing pretty good. It's got more views than most of my other videos have ever gotten. Now I want to tell you, that's the minutes that's going as seconds. If you look back here, you can see there's 2 chips missing and there's a jumper. And there's a jumper from pin 14 of a 7490 over to pin 8 of a second 7490, which is a divide by 6. See, the divide by 10, the output is pin 11, and when you make a 7490, it's going to go to 0, 0. Ready? Ready? 59, 00. Okay, it counts from 0 to 59. It doesn't count to 60. I'm going to tell you a story in a minute. Well, anyway, you take out 2 chips. You take out 1 divide by 10 and 1 divide by 6. A 7490 will divide by 6. It'll also give you the correct BCD outputs to be used in this digit, okay? Which is the 6, it's actually 60, this would be 60 minutes here, but it's really 59, and then it goes over to here. But I want to explain that to you, what happened when I was building one of my clocks. Okay, so you can make a 7490 divide by 6. It'll also put out the correct BCD outputs to use in the clock. Okay, and I have a jumper. Like I said, pin 14 is the input from the chips on the next row, which give you one pulse per second. Then I transferred it over to the output of a divide by 6 chip, and then it comes up in here. And this instead of this being hours or minutes, it's seconds. Okay, it gets me confused. But anyway, I want to tell you a story about, I told you last time, my aunt was in the cellar looking at the rec room I built, and she's looking around, and then she asked what time it was, and I pointed to a clock that said, I believe it said like 11:12, and she goes, well, what does that mean? 11:12, that's the time. And then my grandmother was going to help, and of course Grandma went into a senior lockup moment, or a senior moment, and my mother wished them off doing the old, it's just something he built. And then, but way before that, one of my first clocks, this is how I had it sitting. And the woman, my aunt, who couldn't figure out the time, her husband's like, how come it doesn't go to 60? And that's because that's all I had. I said, well, at 59, the next thing says 60, it transfers to the hours. This is minutes. That's how he could not get it. Okay, he couldn't wrap his hand around now, or his head around it. And he worked for Admiral Television. He ran a department there. And at one point, they were doing, it wasn't a VCR, it was a tape, a reel-to-reel video recorder. And he starts telling me, he says, what's really weird about it is they showed the same frame twice. And you can't see it on the television when you play it back. I said, look, I said, a television set has 2 frames to make 1 frame, odd and even field. And he's looking at me like I'm fucking crazy. Okay, here's a TV guy. Was in business with my dad as a TV repairman, and they both took home study courses. Now I had gone to tech school, and I just said, each frame of the television's really made up of an odd and even field. And he just looked at me like I'm freaking crazy. Okay. And I said, well, but the clock was one time, that was another. And then when I was a kid, I was building a wireless microphone at the TV repair shop. And all day long, he kept saying, well, if it's wireless, how does it work? Or if there's no wires, how does it work? And I didn't know if he was kidding or not. And I said, well, no, wireless microphone, it's going to, when you talk into it, it goes through the air into the radio. And then to this day, I don't know if he was kidding or what. Some of my relatives have what they said, a dry sense of humor. Most of the time, they were just stupid, okay? And you're trying to get something accomplished. And they tear it apart, man. They would just tear stuff apart. And then when you get it working, they would backpedal. I never said that. And that's what I went through, okay? And now I sit here. I have all the time in the world. And I just put a few wires every day on this clock, and I nailed it this time. No mistakes the first 2 digits. Now, I know over here is going to be difficult because that's the That's the section that has to count to from 0 to 1 in the morning. Okay, it's got to show 12 o'clock. It's got an extra chip. The guy uses 7493. I'm using a 7490. Okay, now you can see I have the circuit over here. It's all wired up. And while I'm wiring this thing, I'm going to wire all the normal stuff. And then what I'm going to do is then put in the AND gate, the three-legged AND gate. And I'm going to wire the three-legged AND gate up and terminate everything correctly. Put it in, it goes pin 9 of the 7490, pin 11. And then the third leg goes over on the second side. That's what makes this so unique. The last digit only goes 1 for like, when you go 10 o'clock, the 1 comes on. 11 o'clock, the 1 comes on. 12 o'clock, the 1 is on. But when it goes to 1 o'clock in the morning, that shuts off. Okay? Now, a lot of the clocks out there, the circuits, you still have a 0 over there. The 1 goes away, but there's still a 0. And that's the next section I have to do. And I know what I have to wire first and put in there, and then add those new wires. Now, the way to really do it, if I had the wire, was you put all the first wires in that you know are not going to be any difficulty. The 7490 dividing by 10, and then using the 9 set, we make it do 1 and 2. After it goes from 1 to 0, then it goes 1, 2, and then back to 1. And you got to use the AND gate. And how you do is you wire up all the stuff that's normal in blue wire up wire, and then use another color to put in the new wire. So if you make a mistake, it's just a matter of going back and looking at the new. And I think I might have a 3 foot of black still in one of the boxes. Okay, so I'll wire with blue, and then the AND gate wire, and the blanking wire, and whatever other stuff has to go on, I'll put that in black. And hopefully, maybe tomorrow I'll do that. You know, I only did a few wires today, but it's very stressful when you're 70 years old and you're looking at those pins. And if you don't hold the circuit board the right way, you can count the pins in the wrong direction. You can count the wrong row of pins. Now, let me disconnect this real quick, and I'll show you. Let my transformer drop without shorting itself out. Okay, so you can see it's wire wrapped, and you can be really neat with wire wrap. Let's see, it's in the frame. Okay, the solder rolls in the way. Okay, of course you're always going to have a glare with the light, my favorite light. Okay, but anyway, it's wire wrap, and it's not wire wrap fully. In other words, each wire only goes around the pin maybe 4 times, and then I solder it. And that's so I can use small pieces of used wire wrap, because I don't have any more. And I'm not buying a roll of wire wrap. All that stuff is real expensive now. That's why I did a video on hookup wire. Any kind of wire you want now. Copper's through the roof, so copper wire's through the roof. Even if you buy it surplus, they know how much it's worth. And then they stick you for the heavy shipping charges. So this clock is totally built on what I had. Okay, and it's based on the clock that I sold the kid for $15. And that the clock I sold the kid at that time, let's see, 23 chips at $5 each. So that would be I just lost my train of thought. 20 chips. 23 chips, that there would be over $100 worth of chips, okay, when he bought the clock. And I sold it to him because I got the chips for free. And the displays were Pneumatrons from RCA. I got those for free. I got the Compactron sockets for free. The piece of aluminum I had, I bent it. My father took it in work, got it vapor blasted. The whole thing, except the vector board. This vector board here is a small one. The larger one that I used, it was like 12 bucks. And I'll tell you the place. It was Route 46 Electronics. That'd be Parsippany? Wayne. Probably Wayne, right on the borderline there of Wayne and Patterson. But they had all vector stuff, the little pins, which I still use to this day. And yeah, I had a place later on. There was a place called Lashins up in Denville. They're still in business, but they're not in the town of Denville. And that guy had everything. And when you go in there, you don't ever say, "Gee, he doesn't have it." If he hears you say that, he's right on top of you. And one day I needed some feed-through capacitors. I was building a microwave pickup dish. Yeah, you like free HBO movies. Well, I'll put it in what you can understand. For a while, there was free HBO movies with a tiny dish. And what that was for, originally that system was for the doctors could see an operation in another hospital. And then later on, hotels could pick up HBO with this little tiny dish and then feed it down into their system and give people HBO in their rooms. And in my area, because I was near, in North New Jersey, there were several directions you could pick up the signal, but unfortunately I had to go to the top of the hill to get it to work. I couldn't get it to work. I was down in the valley. But like I said, that was a snow sled. You ever heard something like, you can get free movies with a snow sled? Yeah, years and years ago. And it was aluminum snow sled, or you took a plastic snow sled, the dish type snow sled, and I put aluminum mesh on the snow sled, and it became reflective. And someone says, it won't work. It worked. Okay, it's just that's one of many projects. And I had a TV set that worked on 12 volts. I had the circuit working on 12 volts, and I had a plug-in cigarette lighter thing. And I went down to Gun Oval in Kearney, and I'm adjusting it. And I look up, and the little kids all showed up for soccer. And they were so quiet. Everybody come up from, what is this guy doing? I had the TV set on the front hood of the car. I had the dish set up, and I'm tuning it in. And I'm like, okay, it works. Now I'll go home, and I was in an area. And there were two directions you could get HBO for free, but not from my location. I think that's it. All right, that's it.